welcome back to another Books and Looks video. I'm Jen, and if you are new to watching my videos, what I do here is I combine two of my favorite things, playing with makeup and reading books, to create these videos that are like a get ready with me kind of video. But while I put my makeup on for the day, I talk about a book I have recently read, telling you about the story and giving my own personal review of it and whether I liked it. So let's dive right in, shall we? My book this time is called Psych, A Mind is a Terrible Thing to Read, and it was written by William Rabkin. This book, if you are unfamiliar, is actually based on a television series. I don't remember what, USA. It was on USA, and I loved the TV series. I watched every episode multiple times. Very fun. And so when I saw that there was this fun book series about it, I thought, okay, I need to check out the book. So I did. I will tell you right off the bat, I liked the book, but I do not plan on reading any more books in the series because it was, at least this one was too convoluted. It was, it fit with the TV show, with things being, all crazy and little bits and pieces of the story all coming together in the end. But I got confused. So even when I'm explaining this in this video, I'm going to be like, I think this, I'm not sure about that, because it was a lot. So let me just tell you about it, and I'm not even going to be able to bring up everything because it was a lot. Okay. So, well, first of all, the two main characters, if you aren't familiar with the TV show already, the two main characters are Sean and Gus, and they are a psychic detective agency because Sean pretends to be a psychic and is like a consulting detective with the Santa Barbara Police Department, right? But he's not actually psychic. They're pretending, hence their business being... I just dropped the book. Hence it being called Psych, because it's like a fun little play, Psych. But he is actually really good at being a detective, but he never went to police academy or anything because he's lazy. He doesn't want to do anything. He's just he just wants to have fun and do what he wants to do, right? But his father was a police detective, and his father comes into the book. His name's Henry. But Sean and Gus have been friends forever, and they get into a lot of shenanigans, and so they really enjoy, solving crimes. And Sean's actually really good at it because he's really observant and he's really good at making deductions. So he actually solves a lot of crimes, but he does it in a really frustrating and annoying way. So everybody's annoyed with him all the time, right? He and Gus, like I said, are best friends, and they go around solving crimes. So this one is essentially the crime about, there's actually multiple murders in here that he solves. And I don't even know where to begin because it's so convoluted and complicated, and there's so many characters and so many subplots. I feel okay, I'll just do my best. It starts out with Sean is solving somebody else's or another crime, and he breaks into the courtroom, and he's like, this woman is innocent and that woman is guilty, and he basically proves this girl innocent of killing her husband, right? He was really wealthy, and they hadn't been married that long, so she was the prime suspect. Well, he ends up being right because the woman, he's like, oh, it was actually her, and whatever. She confesses, and so the district attorney who was prosecuting was really mad because he didn't win the case, and it was Sean's fault, even though an innocent woman was set free and the guilty party was arrested. So this district attorney is like, I'm going to get you. I'm going to just watch you and just wait for you to make a mistake, and I'm going to get you. So he ends up being, he ends up being important in the whole story. Well, in the meantime, Gus's car gets towed, so they go to the tow shop or the impound lot to get it back, but the guy running the impound lot is this burly, scary, tattooed and mean, really scary dude, and he tries to kill Sean and Gus. So Sean and Gus have to like escape, and they do. But then the very next day they get called by the police department. They're like, hey, we have a crime, we have a murder, we need you to come and help us investigate. So they do. And it turns out the impound lot guy was murdered yesterday, shortly after Sean and Gus were there. But their fingerprints are all over the place. There's evidence that they were there. So they're like, holy crap, this isn't good. And the police, they're now the main suspect. And the district attorney guy is involved. So he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna throw you in jail. So now Sean and Gus are like, oh, we have to figure out who the real murderer is and, exonerate ourselves, right? So now it's not just them using their psychic detective skills to solve the murder. They are trying to save themselves because they're the prime suspects. And understandably so, they were there, etc. So when they do that, they randomly meet this girl, Tara. And Tara comes out of nowhere and she's like, oh, Sean, I'm in love with you. I am, like, you're a psychic and I've been picking up your psychic vibes. I don't know what's wrong with me. So I'm here to help you. And Sean's like, cool. So he kind of like takes advantage of her and she's like running errands and getting snacks and doing stuff for them. And Gus is like, this isn't okay. Like, don't you think this is weird that this girl claims that she loves you and she's never even met you and that your psychic abilities that you don't have are what brought her to you? Like, this is really suspicious. And Sean's like, it's fine. It turns out not to be fine. But in normal Sean ways, he pulls it all together. So now this Tara girl is there and she's kind of in the background and stuff. And they're trying to investigate who and how the impound lot guy died. And Sean, being really, really smart and a good detective, he figures out from their very short and chaotic interaction with this guy that he is an escaped prisoner from Arizona. And like, okay, how does he figure all of this out? We don't really understand as an audience. He explains like, well, this detail gave me that fact and this detail gave me that fact. It's very Sherlock Holmesy, where like, how could you not have noticed like he had this or he had that, or the one tattoo on his arm is, the gang tattoo, but like he just knows random facts and he puts the pieces together, right? So he determines that this guy was in a prison in Arizona and he escaped and he's under a pseudonym, and the actual person who worked there was actually murdered and he took his place. So he's actually a murderer. And why is he there? He is there because, and this part doesn't really come out until a little bit later, but like I said, the story was so convoluted. I'm just going to tell it to you as like, it makes sense in my brain. So over the course of the short story, Sean figures out that this impound lot guy his father was involved with a bank robbery from like 30 years ago, right? And they all got arrested and caught and thrown in jail, but the money was never recovered. So Sean kind of puts all the pieces together and figures out that the impound lot guy, whose father was involved with the bank robbery, must have been told where the money was hidden, and it must be hidden at this impound lot, and that's why he killed the original worker guy with the intent of searching for the money that was hidden on this impound lot. How in the world did Sean figure all this out? Good question. Well, another little subplot is that Sean's dad, who's a retired police detective, had an old friend. He like loves to fish, right? And he had an old friend who owned a fishing shop, and they were friends, and he like visited the fishing shop all the time. He would hang out in there and they would talk. So he was like friends with this guy. And he had recently passed away, and so the wife was like, I have all these old photographs that I would really like to be organized, but she's real busy running the fishing shop now, right? So Henry's like, you know what? I'll do this for you. He was a friend of mine. You're a friend of mine. I want to help you all out. Like, for the last however many years, like 30 years or so, you've been an important person in my life. I will do this for you. So he's putting all these photographs in it's like scrapbooking basically. Not like with the arts and crafts, but like organizing the photos and putting them into books. And Sean comes over one time and is looking at the photos, and he recognizes that one of the photos was the guy, the fishing shop owner guy, an old photo of him in a police uniform standing next to another guy. Like they're just like arm in arm. And Sean figures out, oh, he used to be a police officer, but he never told anybody that he used to be a police officer. Why would anybody do that? Cops are like a brotherhood. Like, you tell people when you're a cop, especially if you know the other person's a cop, like his father. Why would he keep that a secret? And the only reason he's like, anybody would ever do that is if there was like a safety concern where he was like in witness protection or something and had to. So he discerns that this guy, the fishing shop owner, used to be a cop, and he must have been like in the witness protection program. So he probably was a police officer who knew something about a major crime and had to like get away from it in some way. And there were more details that Sean picks up on, but he figured out that this cop who in the fishing shop was a like a squealer, and there were dirty cops where he worked that he outed, which apparently is like a big no-no in the brotherhood of cops. Like, even if you're a dirty cop, you don't out them. You just like let the chips fall where they may and get in trouble naturally, right? Which kind of sucks, but like I kind of understand. Like, it's complicated, right? So this guy, oh crap, I forgot to turn it up. It's fine. Sorry about that notification. So he pieces together that this cop was the cop that was involved with that bank robbery from before, and he must have known or figured out where the money was as well. Now, he died of natural causes. He wasn't murdered, but there was like a fishing lure, that his favorite fishing lure, like his bestseller or whatever, and it was named like FMGT 3LT or something. And Sean figured out that that was actually code for which car in the impound lot had the money hidden in it, right? So like it stood for like Ford Mustang GT, third to the left in the trunk or something. How Sean figured that out, nobody ever knows. He's just really smart and he figures things out, okay? Like I said, he's Sherlock Holmesy. So by the end of the story, Sean pieces all of this together and figures out where the money was and why he was there. And he also somehow figures out that district attorney that's been out to get him from the get-go is also somehow involved, and he has been also trying to find the money. And I don't remember how or why the district attorney was involved with this 30-year-old bank robbery, and the cop who solved it all and was like in witness protection to, keep or whatever. I don't know, but he somehow was, okay? So the district, as it turns out, Sean figures out, and again, I don't really remember how, it was kind of sort of explained. The district attorney is the one who killed the bad guy at the impound lot because he was looking for the money and they got into a tussle and he ended up killing him in the tussle and blamed it on Sean and Gus, understandably so. P.S. I'm going through for a green and yellow because if you know this story, this series, there's a pineapple like theme symbol where in every single episode there's a pineapple hidden. It was just kind of like an Easter egg thing that they did. So I'm doing like a pineapple. I'm keeping with the thing. So doing this. So anyway, Sean figures out that the district attorney was somehow involved and he was the one who killed the bad guy at the beginning. Okay. So that was one of the key plots, but that was not the only thing that was going on. Tara ends up being important too. So there was also this super random side plot where, and also don't forget the lady at the beginning that Sean saved from a false accusation of murder because she comes back. This also random side plot, well, first of all, there was also the random side plot of Tara because as it turns out, Tara was also a murderer, but we're gonna come to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So we had this other random side plot where Sean and Gus's like old friend from elementary school that Sean never liked, but Gus was friends with. I think his name was like, I don't remember, Dean, maybe? I don't remember. if you're familiar with my videos, you know I'm awful with remembering names. And the only reason I remember so many names in this one is because it was a TV show that I watched. So this guy, Dean, who Sean hated from like childhood, and Gus kind of got along with just fine. As it turns out, he is now like a multimillionaire, like investor person, and he's really successful. And he calls up Sean and Gus, and he's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you. Come to my giant mansion." So they do, and while they're there, he asks them, "Can you? I just got married, and yes, I know I'm a famous multimillionaire. Nobody heard about it. It was done in super secret." And my wife is super into psychics, and she wants to hire you guys to be like an investment advisor for me because she thinks you guys are amazing and wants to like hire you, but I want to give you a test first. I would like you to, I'm going to give you like, I don't know, $100,000 or something preposterous, or $1 million. And I want you have like 48 hours to invest it all. And then in a week, we'll see how they're doing. And if you are right and you make good choices, I'll hire you and you can be like my financial advisor using your psychic abilities. So Sean and Gus do this on the side. In the meantime, Tara's there the whole time, like getting them snacks and running errands for them and making copies or whatever. And talking about how much she loves Sean and how she's like, "Well, I know you don't like this and you don't like that, so I'm just going to go ahead and get this for you because I'm getting all your psychic vibes." And so Sean and Gus do this investigation. Sorry, I know I'm a little all over the place. Sean and Gus are doing their little investigation, or excuse me, they're like, they're investigating these businesses and they're making investments. And like a week later, they get called back to Dean's house to look at the money and how it's working, and it's not, okay? Like they literally just randomly did stuff. They don't really know what they're doing, so it doesn't go well. And so Dean's like, "I knew it. You guys are fake. You're frauds." And in an hour, or no, in the morning, I have a bunch of like news people coming here. Your bosses are coming here. The head detective that you work with all the time, Lassiter, and his partner, Juliet O'Hara. Those are, I'll get back to them. They're all going to be here. The chief of police is going to be here. Your dad's going to be here. All these people are going to be here, and I'm going to humiliate you because you guys are stupid. As it turns out, a long time ago, Sean humiliated this kid in school, and he's been vying to get back at him for years. And this is his opportunity. The wife thing was a true story, but he decided to use it to like get back at them. So as it turns out, the wife, no, let me pause. At the press conference when they were going to be outed and humiliated because they don't actually have psychic powers, right? That the next morning, Sean and Gus ended up staying at the mountain or at the mansion because it was like pouring down rain or something, so they stay, and the thing was there in the morning. So anyway, the next morning, all these people are there. They can't find Dean, and when like the curtain drops, Dean is laying there dead, and Tara is standing over him with a bloody knife. And so everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Tara murdered him." So now Sean's like, as he is, he's like, "Tara did not kill Dean. Something else happened. Tara was framed." So now he's got to like figure out Tara, because she just got arrested, but also she's linked to him, and she's like, "Everything I do is because Sean psychically told me to do it." So now Sean and Gus are like second main suspects on a second murder, which at this point in the story, he hadn't solved the first one yet. Like it all comes together at the end, but I'm like telling you the separate plots individually, right? So at this point in the story, Sean and Gus are still the prime suspects for the impound lock guy. And now they're prime suspects, or at least accessories to the murder of Dean. And Tara's like the prime suspect. So now they have to solve both these murders, right? But they're working on it. Sean's pulling it together. Now, so now Sean starts to investigate Tara and Gus. They're investigating Tara, and they found out that she, they like do some learning, and like Sean figures it out, but like nobody else has over the years. Tara has killed 2 or 3 other people, including like her aunt who fell down the steps and broke her neck, her previous psychic boyfriend who she killed because she figured out that he wasn't really psychic, but he also recognizes that Tara's not like a crazy murderer. She's like, she just has these mental issues where she genuinely believes that all these people had accidents, and like the police believe her or whatever. She's like, oh, she fell on the steps and she actually pushed her aunt, and then the other guy like tripped or something. I don't know. Like, she makes it look like an accident, and then she like gaslights herself into believing it, right? And Sean figures this all out and ends up exonerating her, but also proving that she like killed these other people too. So she still gets arrested, and you know, it happens. It ends in a good way for her. Like, she gets the help she needs, right? Now, another little subplot is, well, it's the same plot. Dean's wife, right? Oh, I forgot to tell you, Dean had a personal assistant who like did everything for him, like all kinds of, like anything he said, the guy would do. I forget his name. We're just going to call him Jeeves for funsies. So Jeeves was always around and doing all of his bidding, but Jeeves was also like his next of kin. Like, he was supposed to be the person who gets control of all of his company and his businesses and his finances when he would die, right? So like, you're probably already putting things together. Am I right? Oh, crap. We're fine. Everything's fine. So we find out that the wife that Dean had been keeping secret is the girl from the very beginning that Sean saved from a false accusation, like proved innocent in court, right? I don't remember her name. We're going to call her Abby. So Abby, we don't find this out until after Dean dies, and there's a private funeral for Dean where like nobody can get there. So they kind of like crash the funeral, but since Abby knows Sean, when she sees him, she's like, oh my gosh, come here. And she's like in a limo. She's like, get in the limo with me. So they get in the limo and they talk as they drive around, and Abby tells him everything, that like after her first husband was murdered and she was going through the trial, she somehow met Dean. I don't remember how. Like, very innocent and you know, natural and normal, and they really hit it off. Like, she was mourning her husband's death, and Dean knew him in some capacity. Like, they were both businessmen, right? And so they got to talking, and they were both like, oh man, it sucks that he died, and like, he was so happy with you, and blah 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 blah. So they end up hitting it off and decide to get married, but they want to keep it secret because, like, number one, he's like super famous and he doesn't want whatever. But also, she just recently was proven innocent for murdering her husband. So she's like, this is not going to look good. Like, my first husband was just murdered. I was on trial for it. And now I'm suddenly marrying another rich man that I met a month ago. But, like, they genuinely care about each other, right? So they decide to keep it secret for multiple reasons. Well, now that Dean's dead, she's kind of, like, coming out of the woodworks, like, well, not really. She's still keeping a secret, but she calls on Sean. She sees him. She's like, come help me. I need you to help me. This is a problem, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what to do. Like, they're definitely going to suspect me again. This looks bad. And he's like, I know it's not you. I know who it is, so I'm going to help you. So then we're coming to the end, and Sean has indeed figured it all out. So he brings everybody together. Classic Agatha Christie reveal, which is what they often do in Psych. And he solves all the murders. He tells everybody how, like, Tara did all of this, but she did not kill Dean. Dean was actually killed by his butler person, his, like, personal assistant, because he was pissed that he got married, and now his wife is going to get everything, even though he's been working and doing all of this for Dean for years, and he, like, deserves it. So before, like, the paperwork can be finalized, he kills Dean so that he can get everything. And Sean figured it out. I don't know how he figured that out, but there was something, okay? So the personal assistant killed Dean. Tara killed her aunt and her previous psychic boyfriend. And the district attorney is the one who actually killed the impound lot guy. And the old bank robbery, he solves that. He figures out that Henry's old fishing shop guy used to be a cop, and he was involved, and he knew where the money was the whole time, but for whatever reason didn't tell anybody. And so Sean finds the money because he figured it out and knows where the money is, right? And so when he finds the money, and that basically proves that everything's right. So he solves like an old crime with the bank robbery. He solves 2 other murders that nobody even knew was a murder. And he solves Dean's murder, and he solves the impound lot murder. He like does it all, and he exonerates himself, and he gets Gus's car back from the car lot, and it's all good. Everything comes together in the end. And that's how it ends. So yeah, the book was super convoluted, and like as you can see, there were like all these plot lines that intersected but didn't really have anything to do with one another. They all just, Sean was invested in all of them, and that was their connection, I guess. It was, so as a story, as a plot, I thought it was too convoluted. There was too much going on. I lost track of what was what. I didn't understand how it all came together. Like, I saw how they were all connected, but it was just like, there were so many things where I'm like, wait a minute, how is the district attorney who murdered the impound lot guy, how was he involved? Like, how did he know about the money? Why did he care? I don't know how that came together. There were also like a couple of other little side things that were in there that made no sense and were unnecessary as a book. However, knowing the show like I do, I can say that that's pretty accurate to the show. It was always like really convoluted, and Sean would piece together all these random little things that ended up being important to the whole story. And the author captured Sean and Gus so well. So like I said in the beginning of this video, Sean and Gus would get into shenanigans. They had this hilarious dynamic. They would make fun of each other. They would be mean to each other, but they were best friends, and it was hilarious. And Sean would act a fool when he was trying to be like the psychic detective, and everybody would be like, what is happening right now? And it would be hilarious because people would fall for it. But the 2 primary detectives, Lassiter and O'Hara, who I mentioned earlier, like Lassiter believed him O'Hara believed him and was like totally into it. Like, I believe psychic detectives, and I think you're definitely it. But Lassiter was like, you guys are idiots. I'm trapped working with you because the chief says I have to, right? However, he still solves crimes. So Lassiter's like, all right, I'm going to stick with you because you're doing it. Like, you're solving crimes, and that's what we're all here for. I will say that I did not like that Lassiter and O'Hara and Chief Vic and even like Officer McNabb and some of the other characters from the show were barely in the book, and they were not as true to character. And I missed that because they're some of my favorite characters in the show. They were barely in the book at all. I mean, Lassiter and O'Hara were there at like the crime scenes and the like he's a fraud reveal, but they had barely any lines. It was not super involved. It was like Sean and Gus, Tara, Dean were like the primary characters, right? So I did love the shenanigans of Sean and Gus, the humor of it. Like, it was well written, but it was too convoluted, and some of the main characters from the show were not in the book as much as I would have liked. So that's my humble opinion. So yeah, and that's how the book ends. I just need to do a little bit of lipstick, and then my look is done. My pineapple themed look is done. There we are. So, do you like this book? Does it sound interesting? I don't know if I told it very well because I feel like I was all over the place, and I mean, the book was all over the place. That's not true. The book wasn't all over the place. It was just a really complicated plot. If I had to score it, I would give it like a 6, I guess. Oh, my kids are getting rowdy out there. Actually, I only have one kid, but he has a friend over. Yeah, so do you like my pineapple look? My eyeshadow that's pineapple-y? I think it's kind of cute and fun. I'm not wearing yellow today, but who cares, right? Who cares? It's just makeup. It's fun. So, yeah, do you think you want to give this a read? It's a lot easier to follow while you're in it, but then once it was all over, I was like, wait a minute, how did this come together? It was very entertaining. I did like it. I don't plan on reading anymore, but do you know the show? If you know Psych the show, comment below and tell me like some of your favorite episodes. What do you like about it? Because I loved the show. Do you think you'll give the book a read, even though I didn't give it the greatest review? Let me know. And if you like my look, if you are amused by my pineapple theme, let me know in the comments below. And as I always say, thanks for watching. And if you have any book recommendations or look recommendations, also add those below. And if you're not already subscribed, please do. Like my video, share it with people, help me support my channel. Thank you. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, week, month, and everything. And as always, stay beautiful inside.